and let the bees draw it out what they want. Now, some people just use a popsicle stick or a wood stick. Now, the only problem that I see with that is if you put this frame in a beehive, it might, if you don't feed them real heavy, it might take a week for them bees to draw this down. There's nothing for the queen to lay on. But now myself, I use full sheets in the springtime because the embossing, if you feel that foundation, the embossing is high, the queen will lay in those embossed cells, and the bees will actually draw it out as doing. But you got to have a good honey flow, or you got to feed heavily. I try to kill the honey flow because I'm not in the honey business. When we're building our nukes up, I pull frames out, and if there's a heavy honey flow, if I have an 8-frame hive here, I'll put an empty frame right in the middle. No foundation, nothing. And I don't do it just because it's going to be foundations. I do it for several reasons. I've learned over the years, if you put an empty frame in here, and the bees draw from this down to here, and it's mostly drone, they're swarming in 3 weeks. But if they draw like from here down, you got 3 to 4 weeks. But if they're drawing all good comb in here, they're not going to draw, they're not going to be swarming on you. That's my way of telling. And if I put it in here, and they draw all drones, I take that, I put it into a nuke. And I let the drones hatch. I don't freeze them and waste all that resources, because it's cost you sugar, it's cost you honey to draw that wax. So what I do is let the drones hatch out, and I use them for mating. I don't have a drone saturated area, or what they call a drone congregational area. I use some common sense beekeeping. If you've got enough hives and you've got enough drones, you're going to get good mating. And as far as wax, 100% beeswax, you can go into the frame. If you've got a queen cell here or one here, take a little steak knife, cut it out, and take that plug and put it in another hive. Now, I don't want to get too much on splitting, but there's a lot of people have misconceptions on splitting. Sideliners do it different than commercial people. And when I talk bee clubs, they think I'm crazy. Most people think you got to have a frame of brood, a frame of pollen, a frame of honey, and a bunch of bees. I take a box just like this, take a frame of honey, stick it in here, shake 2 frames of bees in there, go back and get a queen cell. Put it in here, close it up, close this screen up, keep them for 24 hours or 2 days if you got, a lot of older bees. If you're constantly shaking bees and you can recognize how old they are, you want nurse bees in here. Now, you probably think, I don't know what I'm talking about. You got to have brood and everything here. But if you stop and think about it, honey and bees, you've got a queen cell, it's already sealed. Don't need no feeding. All it needs is a cup of bees, just enough to keep it warm. And when you're first getting started, early in the spring, February, March, you need more bees. Later on, 1 frame of bees is plenty. So there's a lot of ways of setting that up. Anybody got any questions? I could talk about splitting all day long.
Don, you said not to use plastic.
Well, yes, we don't use plastic for several reasons. I'm old, so you got to jar my memory a lot. Plastic, if you have a queen cell, you can't cut it. And there's nobody I know could scrape it off good enough to get it. But if you have foundation, ain't like this, you can cut it out. Now, you can take thin foundation, just like this one here. I make it thin like this. This is commercially bought. I brought this up just to show you the difference in it. But you can put this in an extractor and you can spin it. I don't know if any of my students up here that spun my place yet, but we don't blow them out. If you got an electric one and you're going to go high speed, we use fishing line. Put fishing line there. Then if you're using that frame and it's got queen cells, you can cut through the fishing line. Now, all bees are going to do 2 things. They're going to multiply and they're going to store honey. If you want to make a lot of splits, keep them in a single story. As soon as they get crowded, they're going to make queen cells. 1 hive, 1 box, you can make as many as, if you got an 8-frame hive, You can have 6 frames in there that'll have a minimum of 2 to 10 or 20 cells on each one. So if you got 2 frames in there with 15, that's 30. You need 30 boxes to separate them. So I try to teach my students that when you're getting started, you're never going to build enough boxes fast enough that the bees, you keep up with them. And right now, this is a good time to get into beekeeping.
Right.
Anybody got any questions? Yes.
Well, I was going to ask you about the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
We got some plastic frames. And once they use and take them out of the hive, they look like crap. How do you clean them?
No. I think what I would do is I would take and scrape them down,
Yeah.
melt the wax down, and go to your neighborhood car wash, and just stand back a little bit and spray them.
How about if you got some hot water and just dip them in hot water? Wouldn't that bring the wax out?
It would, but if you want to really do it efficiently, use caustic soda. That's the way we cleaned frames years ago. But you got to wear rubber gloves with that stuff. That's basically lye is what it is.
Well, I called the manufacturer and asked them about it. They said, why do you want to clean it up? Said the bees will do it.
Well, it takes energy for them bees to do that.
Well, that's why I'm here, to find out something.
I discourage plastic because of the queen cells, and you got to stop and think when you put a plastic frame in there. When it gets above 75 degrees, that plastic frame is going to outgas. And I don't know if I have it on this series here, but I've got some